Alright everyone, it is time for the trade deadline special. Obviously I'm not going to play out the trade deadline at the moment. This is just to show you what is all available. I'm starting here on the trade block for us. I still have Wisniewski on it, even though I don't feel like we have to get rid of him. He's a good asset to get rid of if we want to get something better or different for the team. However, McElhaney is on it because I feel that we should get a better backup eventually. Or we can let, Oscar Dansk or one of those guys kind of grow into that. We'll see. And then I have a second round pick there because I didn't really have anyone else to put there. And it's got a little bit of use out there. So you can take a look at the depth chart as well over here. We have a lot of defensemen, but we don't have a lot of top-end defensemen right now. We do have Eriksson, who is under the 80 overall mark. But everyone else is at least over that other than him, so it's not so bad. But, another defenseman might be a good thing. You could take a look. We have a lot of right wings and left wings, but we don't have a ton of centers. So that's also something we could grab depth-wise over time, or we can get that through the draft, whatever. Surplus, I have right now just basically picks. I don't have any certain players on the surplus. I want young players, obviously, forwards and defensemen, and then first and second round picks is what I'm willing to take. Of course, first round picks I love, but that's just me, So we'll go ahead and get out of this. Let's take a look at the trade block. Let's browse the trade blocks here. Okay, so if you just look here, we're going to go through each of the trade blocks here. Anaheim Ducks, they have a first round pick, Sheldon Surrey and Jason LaBarbera. You can see the trade values down there as well as potential age and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of breaks it down really well for you, for the guys that they want to get rid of at least. Shane Doan is on there, which is pretty awesome. 5th and a 7th, okay. Let's take a look at the Boston Bruins. They want to get rid of first round picks. This one actually might be decent because it looks like it's got a lot of trade value. So maybe they're not super high in the standings. I don't know. And then Bartkowski is also on there. Take a look at the Buffalo Sabres. A first-round pick for this year they want to get rid of. Tyson Strachan and Flynn. Okay. Calgary Flames. We have Smith, Thiessen in a 5th round is what they have on theirs. Carolina. First-round pick for what? The next 2 years basically, and a second. So they're trying to just get better, not through the draft. First round picks for Chicago, obviously, because they have a ton of talent. They don't need the first round picks at the moment. They need to get better overall. Let's take a look here. First round picks for Colorado, who's in that same boat. Also Danny Briere, who's an interesting pickup if someone makes it, First round picks for Dallas, as well as Eric Cole, which is one of my favorite players ever. But for $4.5 million, I don't know if it's worth it. Whoops, come on. There it goes. Detroit Red Wings, more first-round picks in Callahan. Edmonton Oilers, first-round pick for next year, as well as Acton and Richard Bachman. So nothing there that's really appealing. First-round pick for next year for Florida, as well as Thornton and Brian Campbell. Brian Campbell could be an interesting pickup. But that's $7.145 million. That's too much for him. And he's got 2 years left. So it's not like you can get out of it after this season or anything. First round picks for the Kings as well as Zykov, who's young. So maybe he's something to look at. First round picks for Minnesota as well as Derek Morris. Let's take a look at the Montreal Canadiens. First round picks as well as Holland. So there's a lot of teams that are willing to move their first round pick, but they're not actively trying to move it, basically. Bolton, Vishnowsky, and Karkner. Okay. Vishnowsky's not a bad defenseman, but $4.75 million is a bit much to swallow for an 81 overall. So first round pick for next year for New York, as well as Anthony Duclair and Fast, who are both two younger, pretty good players. Take a look at the Nashville Predators. First round picks. Valentine. New Jersey Devils. Elias, Yager, and Zubris. Okay. You know what? Yager would not be a bad pickup, and he doesn't have super high trade value because of his age and everything else. I mean, he's 43 years old, and you may not have him after the season, but hey, he could be worth it. We could look into that. The Ottawa Senators, first round picks in Condra. Take a look at the Philadelphia Flyers here. Chris Pronger, who actually doesn't play, but they're trying to get rid of that salary for 3 more years. Kimmo Timonen and Mark Streit. Streit's not a bad defenseman, neither is Timonen, but they're both on the downside of their careers. Pittsburgh Penguins, first round picks, and San Jose, first round picks, and Joe Thornton. Wow. Joe Thornton is on the block. 3 years left, 6.75 mil. It's a bit much, and over those 3 years, he's probably going to start getting worse very soon, so that's something to think about. St. Louis Blues, first round pick for next year, as well as Chris Beach and Veilleux. Maybe that's not Chris Beach. It's a different Beach. Okay, Tampa Bay is looking to move the New York Rangers first round pick, their first round pick, and their first round pick for the next year as well. So they're interested in just moving picks because they're trying to get better. Robidas, 4th and a 5th for Toronto. So as you can see, they're trying to build through the draft a little more, not having their first pick up there. First round picks for Vancouver as well as McCann. Though McCann is... Why would they want to trade McCann? That'd be an interesting trade if you can get him on the cheap, because he should be a really good player eventually. Washington, first round picks, and Burakovsky, who's another really, really good up-and-coming forward. But he's got some trade value to him, even being a 74 overall. So that would be something to really think about there. Winnipeg Jets, they're just trying to get rid of later picks. They don't really have a whole lot to offer on their trade block at the moment. Okay, so we don't really need to look at the wants and all that stuff yet. And then what we'll do is I'm going to go through propose a trade. And then we're going to go and just look at the values here. So what I'll do first is I'll take a look at our values to show you all that. So, you know, if you want to look at it closely, you can just pause the video or whatever. I don't want the video to be super long for the people who don't want to, you know, sit through it all. So you can kind of see some of these players to break down here. We have a lot of young players who don't really have much trade value, but they could be good in the end. We'll see. Okay, so then we'll take a look also at the we'll take a look at our draft picks real quick, what we have at the moment. We have 3 third-rounders this year, no 4th, and 2 7s. So, quite a lot of picks. Goalies. So yeah, McElhinney has nothing, but Bobrovsky and Dansk both have good trade value. Obviously, Bobrovsky is an elite goaltender, so of course he's going to have good trade value. So, it's all skaters. Alright, so Anaheim. Here's a breakdown of their top guys. I'm not going to go all the way down. I'm just going to show you, you know, a good amount of them. There's that, and then goalies. Gibson, obviously, he's going to be an elite goaltender. There's no doubt about it. Anderson as well is another really good goalie. So, kind of wish you could go through teams a little quicker, but there's no real way to do it. So, you can take a look at the Arizona Coyotes. Goaltenders, Smith and Vicedin. Okay. Boston. I'm not going to look at their draft picks or anything, because that's not, I mean, that's important, but not super important right now. Even if we do get their draft picks in a trade or whatever. One guy who would kind of fit, I mean, I might get some stick about it, but one guy who would kind of fit the Blue Jackets style of play at least would be someone like a Lucic. But I think he's just going to be too expensive. Like, I would end up having to move Horton for sure, probably in that trade. But, you know, it's something to think about. Sam Reinhart, #1 guy there for them. Though Nikita Zadorov would be an interesting one as well, because he's got a freaking cannon on the point. Chris Stewart there. This type of player that we'd want. Which actually in real life, they've actually been talking about Chris Stewart possibly coming here as well. Just like that, the trade talk with Edmonton and trying to get Perron. Which I'm kind of iffy about just because Perron, he got traded from St. Louis for a reason, I would think. So that kind of worries me a little bit. But with it being St. Louis's front office who basically came over, it makes sense that they'd want players who they know quite well. Hayden Fleury might be an elite defenseman. It's pretty awesome. It's supposed to be good though, so I could buy it. Calgary. You can see Sam Bennett. Looks like he'll be good. Same thing with Goudreau. They're just young. They got to get a little better over time, which can happen. Chris Russell has like no freaking trade value, but he's actually been playing really well this year for them. Hiller's the freaking man. Ramo is overrated on this game, but I digress. Chicago. However you say it in Chicagoan. Take a look at the skaters here. Teravainen. He's supposed to be a really good player that they just sort of, you know, got from Finland. I know he did really well in the World Juniors last year because I enjoyed the hell out of watching that. That's for sure. Take a look here at the plentiful of young players of Colorado here. It's another team who I kind of build the Blue Jackets like in a way where they work hard, but they're also a younger team and everything else as well. So, yeah. Oh, Calvin Pickard there. Alright. And also on all of these, it also shows the salary cap and everything else for each of these guys. So, you can kind of see how much is available before we trade as well, just in case, you know. That way we make sure that it's going to work with the salary cap as well. Also, with you being able to see how these things break down, if you want to actually say more than just like, oh, you should go after this guy or whatever, and you want to actually like say, well, you should trade this guy for this guy, I'm totally open to hearing that as well, because I will definitely give it a thought. Personally, I'd like our team where it's at now at the moment, but at this moment in time, anything is possible. So if we want to make a big trade, another big splash to try to give the team even more, then just let me know. So is Bertuzzi on 2 teams? Is that what I just seen? I don't know. Draisaitl. He's going to be a fun player to watch over the years. Let's look in here at the Edmonton Oilers, who just can't seem to become good in real life. On the game, they're always really good because of all their young talent, but in real life, they have all kinds of troubles with that. So look there at the Florida Panthers. Old Luongo there. Ekblad, okay. Barkov, Huberdeau. Some good young players on that team as well. Another player I really like on that team is Bjugstad. He's got tons of size and a lot of skill as well. So that's not something a lot of teams can say. Take a look at what the Kings have to offer here. Look at the goalies. Obviously, Jonathan Quick's going to be right up there with a 93 overall. Hell of a goalie. They're a little over the salary cap, though, so maybe they're going to try to unload someone to get under the salary cap. We'll see. Take a look at the skaters here for the Minnesota Wild. They have a lot of cap room, surprisingly, especially considering the fact that they signed Parise and Ryan Suter to those deals, what, a year or two ago? I mean, that was huge money that they threw at those guys. So, got Galchenyuk, a guy who we could have drafted, but we got, Murray instead, which right now looks bad just because Murray's been injured lately. Like, he was injured the entire first season he would have played, and now he's injured again. But I still think Murray's going to be a top-end defenseman over time, so they may not be such a big deal. Fucali's got some good, good trade value there. Take a look at the New Jersey Devils. Seems to be a lot of goalies getting injured on this right now. Luckily, we haven't been bitten by that yet, but anything's possible. Look here at what the New Jersey Devils have to offer. A lot of older players on that team, but you know what? They get it done at the end of the day. So, take a look at Nashville. Franchise defenseman Shea Weber. I believe he's the only franchise defenseman on this game, as far as I know. As of now, at least. I mean, 93 overall for a defenseman. It doesn't get much better than that. He's the best defenseman on the game when it comes to his overall and everything else. But, you know, obviously some people will take Subban or, you know, a Carlson over him at least. So, that's up to them. That's their prerogative, you know. I personally would take Shea Weber just because of his defensive acumen rather than his offensive, even though he's got a hell of a shot and he seems to always pinch at the right times. Ooh, Josh Ho-Sang. That could be an interesting one as well, but he's too young right now. So, old Jack Skilly, one of the actual Blue Jacket players now, but because I had started this before the season started, we don't have him on this team, sadly. Because he'd be another good third-line guy. So, hey, you know what? If you want me to go out there, you want me to pick him up, then let me know. Because I can do that. We can make it happen. Because he's not worth a ton trade value-wise, so it wouldn't cost an arm and a leg. I could probably give a third-round pick or something for him. Something smaller, at least. Okay. All skaters. Let's take a look at the Ottawa Senators here. Zibanejad's always a nice player. Curtis Lazar is another one that I really like. Chason. He's very underrated on this game, I feel. Even though he's been really good ever since he's come into the league. They have a lot of salary cap there. A lot of salary cap room there. One team that does not is the Philadelphia Flyers. You can see how their stuff break down. Obviously, it would be nice to have Voracek still. But it is what it is. All that's done. So, can't do anything about it. Take a look here at some more of the players. Go over to the goalies. Mason Stolarz. Anthony Stolarz. I've heard of him. I think, didn't he play for Team USA last year? Let me look at him real quick. Yeah. Yeah, I think he played for Team USA in the World Juniors. I was like, that name sounds familiar. Alright, you can see they have 3 pretty good goalies with Grice, Zatkov, and Fleury there. So if we want to get another backup, there's a possible place we can go because they have an extra 80 overall goalie. So obviously Crosby, franchise player, 96 overall, he's got full trade value. Malkin doesn't have full, but he's still a 92 overall. Pretty damn good, if I do say so myself. Bo Bennett's one of those guys who'd be an interesting, you know, addition to the team, but obviously not something that we have to get. You can kind of look at what Pittsburgh has to offer there. San Jose. Let's see there. Joe Thornton is on the block. Wow, they have Anthony Mantha. They must have made a trade to get Anthony Mantha. Because that's the type of player that I'd love to have. I mean, he's going to grow up and be a really, really good player when he's ready for the NHL. That's for sure. Nice little power forward there. Which is still surprising that he got all the way to Detroit in like the 20s, I think it was. Is where they were picking that year. So, that was surprising for me at least. Let's take a look here at what the St. Louis Blues. Obviously, Tarasenko would be an interesting one. Or bringing in someone like an Alexander Steen, who's the right type of player for us. However, whether we want to pay that ransom for his trade value, and he's not super young at least, so that's something to think about. Drouin, a lot of trade value because he's going to be good very soon, but he's already an 80 overall in here, so that's pretty good too. Clear my throat. It's getting a little raspy. Take a look at the goalies as well. Ben Bishop, Nabokov, Guzlevskis. I can't say it. I've never been able to say his name very well. But he's a really good young goaltender. I will say that much. Bernier and Reimer. So that could be another place we could go as well for a backup, because they have like the two goalie system going there. And both of them are pretty damn good. Take a look here at Toronto. David Booth could be an interesting one to come in, you know. He's got some offensive tendencies, but in the real life, he hasn't been as good as he was in Florida for years. So, let's take a look here at Vancouver. Matthias is a pretty good player down there. Of course, Dorsett. We could always bring Dorsett back, and he could play instead of Bull if you guys would like that more. It's up to you, though. Okay, so they have an extra 80 overall goalie, Markstrom. So maybe we could pull a guy from here. Though right now Miller is injured, so they may not be as willing to move him. We'll see. Ooh, Comrie. Okay. Comrie's got really high trade value for him. But they really don't have much else when it comes to goalies right now, because even though Pavelec is ranked that high, he's not really that high of a player. Kirby Reichel's one of the top guys because we had traded him in that trade to pull over Evander Kane. So we may not have a whole lot more that we're going to try to take from them, at least. We look at Washington here. Obviously, Ovechkin's going to have that trade value high as a franchise player. Kuznetsov has been doing really well as a rookie this year. Take a look at the goalies here. Holtby, he's been the best goalie all season, it looks like, which is saying something for an 85 overall, that's for sure. Justin Peters is a backup. Grubauer is a decent backup as well, who could get better because he's still young. We'll just have to see, right? So there is the trading blocks really quick at a glance. Like I said, if you want to look at something certain, you can pause the video. That way you can take a look at things. Also, I pinned a couple players, Wah and Vale. They're both top 5 talents for the draft. For whatever reason, my scouts haven't scouted McDavid yet, which is surprising. But I plan on doing that very soon. That way we can get him pinned as well, so that when it comes time for drafting, we can look into certain players who we feel are going to really help our team. We'll look at the free agents real quick, but it'll just be like the first few here. That way you can see. There's not a whole lot of talent here, but there's a little bit. Like Tallinder could be a decent addition for a season or two, stuff like that. We'll see, though. Jovanovski is another defenseman who could possibly fit in. You can kind of look here through these guys. But remember, the style of player that I do like is I'm the type of guy who really likes good skating defensemen who are also good defensively. That's the important thing for me. So there was the trade deadline special trade deadline special number 1. If we get enough trades that are going to happen and we have to go through and really work to get trades done, then maybe there'll be a second trade line special, a trade deadline special that will involve just us trading. I will see how it goes. Just make sure you comment down below. I'll give you guys a few days to be able to do that before I play the next game. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and give me all of your comments and opinions and everything else. I will see you all next time when we go into the 18th episode of the Be a GM mode for the Columbus Blue Jackets. See you later.